Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Jarren Duran has been all over the news this week, and he has served his 2-game suspension for yelling a homophobic slur at a fan behind home plate at Fenway Park. The fan was telling him, you need a racket, you need a tennis racket to hit, and Duran fired back with, an anti-gay slur that more or less rhymes with racket, actually. And now he has become something that he's not, and I don't think he wants to be. Jarren Duran is not a martyr, okay? He's not. I don't think he's a bad guy. And to be honest, I don't even know that he's homophobic, but he's not a martyr. He's not a symbol of something. Conservatives, give it up. He's not that. Jarren Duran seems like a good guy. We hear great stories about him. I covered him somewhat in the Cape League. I was working for the same team he was playing for, and he seemed like a very nice guy. Not everything has to be like this giant culture war. The guy said something he shouldn't have said, and from both sides, it has become this massive deal. Like I was looking at Google this morning on this Jarren Duran stuff, and it's all these think pieces from left-leaning sites about how MLB has a homophobia problem, and that, growing up is hard enough, and this, that, and the other. And it's like, it's not any more than that. He said something he shouldn't have said. He said something that we've all said, by the way, at one point in our lives, but in 2024, as adults, we don't say that. It's not something that we should just go around saying. It's not an acceptable thing to say in decent society. It's not. But that doesn't mean MLB is a homophobia problem. Okay, because just about anyone growing up anywhere has said that word or called someone that, whether they meant it in the traditional sense or not, right? But that does not mean there's this greater cultural issue here. We're moving on. It was said a lot more in 2006 than it was said in 2024. It was said a lot more in 2012 and in 2018, 2019, and 2020 than it is in 2024. That is part of moving on. That is part of moving as a culture. It's not the deeper lying issue that you think it is. There is a homophobia issue. Of course there is. And there probably always will be. But it's also better than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 40 years ago. That's progress. We're moving. We're moving from that. On the flip side, I'm seeing a lot of conservative fans, baseball fans, not just Red Sox fans. In fact, what I've seen on social media, a lot more than just Red Sox fans, who are making Jarren Duran out to be this hero. For what? For what? Like, I can see some of the conservative martyrs of the past, whether I believe in them or not. Like, I'm not a big Kyle Rittenhouse guy. I'm not. I don't really get it. But in a way, I do get what they're saying, or I'm trying to remember back in the day with like the Trayvon Martin case, Zimmerman. They felt this guy was getting persecuted for acting what they thought was rationally, right? What Jarren Duran did was not rational. It's weird in 2024 society. While we've all done it, if you got caught saying that on a hot mic today, you would understand that there's a punishment. And by the way, Jarren Duran understood there was a punishment. And he apologized for it. He served his suspension. He has not run amok with it. He has not, made a big stink about it. I think he understands that this is what happens and that he shouldn't have said that. We all say things in the heat of the moment that we shouldn't say. I think this was the one for Jarren Duran. But this is not a heroic act, and I don't understand why we're trying to push that. I don't understand why conservative baseball fans are trying to push that. I saw from this one Red Sox podcast on Twitter, which, by the way, is first off just not a good podcast, but also very annoying and, yes, very conservative. But to each their own. I really don't care. In fact, I lean more conservative much more than I do liberally. But this I just don't get. It's the bastards of Boston baseball. How's the woke crowd handling the news of Jarren Duran's jersey sales hitting an all-time record the last few days? Community note, fact checked. It's not an all-time record. It is the number one selling jersey on MLBshop.com this week. That's all part of this, of what I don't get. Jarren Duran's having a great year. I don't think that's why his jersey is bumped up in sales the week he called someone the F slur. Like, what? So if you bought a Jarren Duran jersey just for that, and people see that, you're at a Phillies game wearing a Phillies hat and a Jarren Duran jersey. No one is thinking, oh, this guy loves free speech. They're thinking, this guy hates gays. He hates gay people so much that he went and bought a jersey of a guy he only knows because the guy said the F word. Does that not seem fucked up to the people who are buying that? If you see it at Fenway, it's whatever. Jarren Duran is one of their best players. No wonder they bought a jersey. But clearly this is happening more than Boston if he's the number one seller on MLB Shop. That's fucked up. That's weird. That's a very weird hill to die on, a very weird thing to stand behind, to say, yeah, I'm into free speech, so I don't think this guy should have been reprimanded for publicly calling someone that gay slur. That's fucking weird, man. Are you going to defend people calling other people the N-word in 2024? Some of these people might, which is just really weird and quite icky, if we're being honest. Again, it's so weird to be living in the middle space here to say, I don't think Jarren Duran's a bad guy, and I don't even know that he's homophobic, and I don't think anything more should happen to him than what's already happened to him, a fine, a 2-game suspension, and a public apology. We move on. But I also don't think he is this great symbol of the free speech movement because he called someone that. That's such a weird angle to take. And a lot of people are taking that angle. I look at the comment section. It's incredible, man. Oh, I think it's wonderful. So many of these people. And there are some that come back. It's not woke to be a decent person. It was a mistake and Duran owned it. That's a good way to talk about it. I don't understand why this is the thing we're rallying behind. Someone said more players need to be like him. Why? That is not a good thing in 2024. We should not be encouraging players to be discriminatory. That's insane. That's such a wild, weird take that there are people amongst us that still believe that. And one guy, again, measured comment here, he made a mistake. Suspend him a few games. He apologized. Set an example for kids and everyone that it wasn't acceptable, and then you move on. Oh boy, that was about the worst thing you could say in this thread. Suspend him because he says what all men say? This woke, British cigarette, culture can't disappear quick enough. Look, I've said it before. I said it at the beginning of the segment. We've all said that word. Most of us, if not all of us, have called people that word. I used to use that word a lot. I was also 11 and 12 years old. I was not a Major League Baseball player. I'm not the same age I am now, which is the same age as Jarren Duran. I'm not saying that at age 27. I grew up. I moved on. I used other words. I didn't keep using anti-gay words. That's so weird. So because people say that when they're teenagers, then you shouldn't get reprimanded for making your baseball team, your employer, look bad by calling somebody that in public? That doesn't make any sense. And I would use the example of, if people said the N-word all the time. In history, and, we used to say it as kids talking about rap songs and stuff. Should you be allowed to say that now? The answer is obviously no, but this person would probably say yes. This guy should not be suspended because we've all said it before. Because you called someone that because they were pissing you off when you were 13 years old. It's insane to me that there are still so many people who are thinking that. And that seems to be the argument that I'm picking up. Because please, if you guys know what the real argument is, drop it down in the comments. I don't know it. Or leave us a voicemail. Please. Link in the description for the voicemail. I don't know what the argument is. because like young people say it and said it. I just don't get it. One of them says, we said a lot worse when I was growing up in the 90s. Correct. But we don't say it anymore. This is not you growing up in the 90s. It's 2024. They used to say the N-word all the time. We don't say it anymore. I don't understand this. Why he is now this hero. And by the way, Jarren Duran does not believe he is a hero. He doesn't think he's a hero. Why should we think he's a hero? The guy made a mistake. We're moving on. And I actually feel a little bit bad for Duran here because he's trying to move on. He clearly, I mean, you saw the apology. He looked embarrassed that this happened. And wouldn't we all be? Except for Terry Cushman and the great people of Bastards of Boston Baseball. That reviled podcast. But like, Duran seemed embarrassed by it. He does not want to be seen as this hero of the right or the free speech movement, which, by the way, seems conservative. But I just don't get it. Someone please explain it to me. Not why you hate woke or why you think this is woke, but why is he a hero? Why is he the face of the free speech movement? Why, if you're rooting for another fucking baseball team, why are you going to buy his jersey if he's not playing for your team? Please explain that to me. Jarren Duran is not a bad person, but he is not a hero for doing this. I really hope we can all move on from it, especially Jarren. Because, again, he seems like a good guy and is an important part of this baseball team, too. But it's going to be people like these bastards of Boston baseball and these insane people on Twitter who are going to give Red Sox fans a bad name, and they're going to give Jarren Duran a bad name, more so than the things he already did. Anyway, most of those people who are commenting that don't like soccer. So we're going to talk about soccer. Mauricio Pochettino to the USA with Braden Murray. That's coming up next on The Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network.
We are Rogue Media Sports.